This is episode 7 of our special series, NewsX on Ayodhya. This episode is dedicated to some of the most renowned and recognized religious leaders of the world. The rabbi who represents Judaism, the cardinal who represents Christianity, the imam who represents Islam, and the temple high priest representing Zoroastrians, and the acharya, a representative of Buddhism. It is the biggest, most pious, sacred day for Hindus across the globe. We are installing the idol of Lord Ram, the most revered deity in Hinduism, in Ayodhya. It has taken us 500 years and more to build the biggest symbol, the most revered place for Hindus, even though Hinduism is amongst the most ancient religions of the world. From St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican to Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia, Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem or Bethlehem in West Bank. These are some of the most holiest sites of different religions. So on this occasion, we invite some of the most renowned religious heads of this world to partake in this celebration. This is a pertinent moment to invite them and their delegations from different faiths across the globe to come visit Ayodhya Ram Mandir to partake in interreligious dialogue. This is a moment for the world to learn more about Hinduism from a different lens, to understand what it truly stands for, what it really is, what it preaches. This is a moment to disregard all false notions and narratives spread about Hindutva and Hinduism, which spread the fear of Hinduphobia. I'm going to quickly introduce all my guests on the telecast with me. I have with me Rabbi David Rawson. He is the International Director of Interreligious Affairs from the American Jewish Committee. I have with me David Frawley, who is the author, astrologer and acharya. He joins me from United States of America. I have Vada Dasturji Khurshid Dastur. He is the high priest of the oldest fire temple, which is located in Odawa in Gujarat. I have with me Professor Nathan Katz, who is a distinguished professor emeritus, Florida International University, and he joins me from United States of America. I have also with me Acharya Yeshi Funsok, who is the deputy speaker from the Tibetan Parliament in exile. I start my conversation with Rabbi David Rawson. Rabbi, it's good to have you on the telecast with us. Thanks for joining us from UAE. You're right now in Abu Dhabi. And my first question to you about how Ayodhya is to the Hindus, what Temple of Solomon is to Judaism. What do you make of the Ram Temple inauguration that is due to take place?
Well, obviously, it's an enormous event in the life of the whole of Hindu culture, not just religion. In fact, there's an interesting parallel here because both Hinduism and Judaism are not exclusively theologies. They represent civilizations, cultures, heritage, and therefore this Mandir is an embodiment of the enormous, great heritage of Hindu tradition. So it's enormously significant.
Absolutely, it is. Do you also feel that Ayodhya is going to emerge as a place for tourists from over the entire globe to visit regardless of what their faith is?
Indeed. I think it's very important that religious shrines should be familiar to people of different faiths and to be able to appreciate the beauty and the profound values that they embody.
Absolutely. Will you also, sir, consider leading a Jewish delegation to visit Ayodhya and promote interfaith communication in the future?
I would be very happy to do so. Today, I'm actually no longer working for a Jewish organization, nor do I have a congregation of my own, but I serve in interfaith roles globally, and I would be delighted to be part and parcel of such a visit.
What is your understanding as a rabbi of the religion that is Hinduism as one of the world's most ancient religions?
Well, it's of course more than just one particular tradition of an enormous civilization. And part of the problem of the very word Hinduism is a Western attempt to try to encapsulate enormous variety within one term. This is the understanding of spirituality, of the divine, of the way we should live, born out of an enormous richness and wealth of culture of the people who have lived in the Indian subcontinent.
Rabbi Rawson, now we Hindus have a term called Ram Rajya, which has become controversial recently because people mistake it for Hindu imposition. Do you think there is much to learn from Ramayana and the good governance, the morals and ethics that it preaches and practices?
Of course, the Ramayana's purpose is precisely to impart values by which people should lead their lives. And it is important for people to treasure their own cultural identity and especially their own spiritual heritage. But at the same time, Hinduism, if we can generalize, and I think we can in this case, teaches a tolerance and an openness towards other traditions that is critically important for cohesive society. Indeed, if I may speak as a Jew, India is one of the few places, and maybe unique in the world, certainly one of the very few places where Jews never experienced anti-Semitism. This reflects the kind of welcoming culture and openness of the Hindu tradition, of its own fundamental religious teachings over the generations.
India is one of the few countries that has not seen anti-Semitism in its history, like you pointed out. What hope of tolerance and interfaith understanding does that send out?
Yes, it's really important. Of course, we live today in a world where there are such pressures on people that very often the most noble aspects of their heritages often get lost because of fears, because of competition, because of threats of various kinds. So this heritage of India, which is something so remarkable, and of course many other aspects of Hindu tradition are things that the West can learn from. This is another thing that the West can learn, how you can maintain your identity, how you should maintain your religious identity, and at the same time be open and tolerant towards other religious traditions.
India has 1 million Hindus, but also more than 200 million Muslims. Buddhists as well were born over here. Buddhism religion was born over here. What is the hope of interfaith harmony that India represents in a troubled world?
Yes, it's crucial, and of course this particular location of this wonderful Mandir is not without its own complexity in terms of that history. So it's really important that it embodies a spirit of tolerance and mutual respect. As I said, I think India has a lot to teach the world, and the Hindu tradition has a lot to teach the world, that this is not only possible, but that this is imperative for our well-being.
There are many people who are constantly prophesizing a Muslim genocide in India, telling the world that Muslims in India are living in fear. We know that is not true. There is no such thing that is taking place. What do you make of your outside view of modern India?
Well, I've had the pleasure and privilege of visiting India many times, so I'm able to see the positive spirit and harmony that exists between different religious communities. I know, of course, that there are places where there have been tensions and where there has even been violence, and I think that is very sad, very tragic, and everything must be done to be able to prevent that. But I have many Indian Muslim friends as well as Hindu friends whose life is flourishing and whose communities are flourishing there, and who themselves would refute any attempt to say that Islam is under siege. So it's like, as I say, I mean, unfortunately, here I'm speaking to you from Jerusalem, and we here are involved at the moment in a conflict. But aside from when there is such conflict, I always say to people, come and see for yourself and see how, at least within Israel, Muslims, Christians, and Jews live together in a very respectful atmosphere. And I think it's really important that people who hear different things about India should have the opportunity to go to India themselves and to see how these communities relate to one another overwhelmingly in a spirit of mutual respect.
What is your view on Narendra Modi as a global leader?
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm qualified to express opinions about political leaders. I'm not a politician, and I also have never met Mr. Modi, but I know that from many Hindu friends and many great swamis, acharyas who are friends of mine, they have a very positive impression of him. Obviously, as far as India-Israel relations, he's also played a very important role in advancing this. And I hope but maybe part of that outcome might even lead to the ability to be able to serve as a go-between also to the Muslim world. Maybe India could even be an agent of peace here in the Middle East.
Now, a major Hindu temple is about to be inaugurated in Abu Dhabi. Also, are you hopeful of a new understanding of Hinduism rising globally?
Absolutely. I think today we live in a global village that has challenges, but many blessings. And the opportunity to recognize one another's heritages, religious heritages, spiritual traditions is greater than ever before. In fact, there has never, ever in human history been as much interfaith understanding, collaboration, and cooperation as we have today. It's an exponentially growing industry. Of course, very often reading the papers, you wouldn't get that impression because what sells newspapers and what boosts rating generally are the negative stories, not the positive ones. But there is an increasing positive relationship between religions all the time. I have visited the construction of the Mandir in Abu Dhabi. The Swami there has hosted me at it, and I hope to be present at the inauguration when Prime Minister Modi will be there. And I think it's a wonderful thing for the UAE and indeed for the Middle East and in spreading tolerance and understanding throughout the world.
There are Hindu temples that are also being defaced and attacked all across the world, from US to Europe. Why are some of these people out there trying to create Hindu phobia?
I don't think it's just Hindu phobia. There's Islamophobia, and of course there's anti-Semitism. And in a world, I think there are two things here. One is, in a world where there are more tensions, whether these are political or economic, or whatever they may be, people tend to become more insular because they feel threatened. So it's a function of fear. And when people are fearful, their worst nature often comes out, and they're often hostile to things that are different from them and different religious traditions. But I'm not sure that there is as much of this, that there is a great deal more today than there has been in the past. I think there are two factors within this. One is that because our world is so much of a global village, people are interacting in ways they didn't before. So people who have never met members of another religious faith or tradition are encountering them, and most cases they're ignorant. They don't know much about these traditions. That's why interreligious education is so important. And very often this prejudice born out of ignorance and fear comes out. But I think a lot has to do with the fact that the blessing of modern communications is a double-edged sword. Today we can communicate in ways that we never were able to do before, and we are exposed to all kinds of communications that we were never able to be before. And these are not only good things, but also bad things. And therefore, the media, and especially social media, amplifies the negative in a way that wasn't done before and gives the opportunity for negative voices to be heard and for actions to be taken and to be encouraged in a way that wasn't done before. So I think a lot has to do with with a rather brutalization of global culture that is facilitated by modern communications. But I actually don't believe that there is more badness or evil in the world today than in the past. I think that interreligious relations are making our world a better place and educating people more and more about one another. And these events and these broadcasts like your own here, having the opportunity to hear from representatives of other religions, is part and parcel, I think, of that positive education that is the essential tool to combat prejudice, bigotry, and even violence.
Can India lead the world now in organizing interfaith conferences and promoting global harmony?
Well, as you said, there is no shortage of people in India. You have one of the largest, if not the largest population in the world, and therefore these numbers are far greater for many different events that take place in many other parts of the world. Whether in relation to the numbers in India, India has more interfaith and interreligious collaboration elsewhere, I don't know. That's difficult for me to judge or to assess. But certainly it must be one of the richest and most fruitful countries in terms of promoting religious harmony.
Thank you so much, Rabbi David Rawson, for joining me on the telecast, sharing your views on the subject, and of course enlightening us and giving us insights of the larger view of the world when it comes to Hinduism. Joining me also on the telecast right now is David Frawley. He's an author, astrologer and an acharya, and he joins me from United States of America. Thank you so much, David Frawley, for joining us on the telecast. And of course, the topic of Ayodhya. It is a world-renowned occasion where Hindus in the globe are celebrating. And the question about how the significance of Ayodhya is so sacred to Hindus, which is a comparison that can be drawn with the Temple of Solomon, which is for Judaism. We talk about Mecca, which is symbolic of what Islam is. We have Bethlehem for Christianity. What do you make of Ram Temple inauguration?
Namaste. I'm very happy to be with you discussing this very important event of the inauguration of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya, Rama Janma Bhoomi. This is a monumental temple. It is also a monumental event. It is an event that has great national significance for India, great also cultural and civilizational significance for India, because Sri Ram is the avatar of Dharma. He represents the great history and culture of Bharat. And yet Sri Ram is a global figure. His influence and story and honoring of his life spread throughout Asia, and now has a following also throughout the entire world. So this is the, you might say, restoration of the great civilization of Bharat and the whole dharmic civilization of Asia and the world.
Do you feel that Ayodhya is now going to emerge as a place for tourists from all over the world to visit regardless of their faith?
Ayodhya is definitely going to be the greatest tourist site in India, and perhaps the greatest tourist site in Asia, because the story of Ram is also etched in the cultures, whether it's Thailand, as far as Indonesia, even in Japan, they have done a film about that, and all over the world. It's also in the center of the country. It's very accessible. It's a wonderful temple, and it's a great global event. So certainly people will come at all times, particularly for festivals, and this will be like the spiritual heart of India for all the world to see, and a new shrine for peace, universality, and respect for all living beings, and for a greater future of peace for all humanity.
My next question to you is about whether there is a scope for global religious delegations from different faiths to visit Ayodhya and to promote interfaith communication and dialogue in the future.
Well, we have to understand that the Bharatiya traditions, the Dharmic traditions, have never been closed or exclusive beliefs. They recognize the divine in all beings, and enlightenment and yogic potential in everyone. So certainly People of all types, all religions, all backgrounds are welcome. They will all come to Ayodhya, and they can experience the openness and the vastness that Sri Ram leads us to. So this is not just about name and form and number. It is about a great inspiration, and that inspiration is for everyone, and all will be able to share it.
What is your understanding of Hinduism as one of the world's most ancient religions?
Sanatana Dharma is the third largest of the world's religions even today. Only Christianity, Islam have more followers. Yet it is also the oldest religious tradition in the world, going back to the beginning of history and perhaps even before. So it holds a great spiritual heritage of humanity. And it is the largest of the dharmic traditions that have come out of India and Asia, which include the Buddhist, the Sikh, the Jain, and others. And it is the largest and oldest of what we would call the native and indigenous traditions connected to nature. So it has a lot of affinities also with the ancient traditions all over the world.
We have a term called Ram Rajya, and which has become controversial recently because people have mistaken it for Hindu imposition. Do you think that there is much to learn from Ramayana and the good governance model that it professes, the morals and ethics that it practices and preaches?
First of all, Hindus have never invaded any country. They don't have any conversion agenda for the world. The Hindu Dharma is emphasizing more devotion, our own internal practices, with many names and forms. So these teachings are available to all. And Ram Rajya is about Dharma and all aspects of life, how we relate to our family, our society, to the other creatures in the world, to the universe as a whole. So it's good governance in a certain sense, but more than that, it is a good and enlightened way of life.
India has 1 billion Hindus. It also has 200 million Muslims. Buddhism and Sikhism were born here. We have a thriving Christian, Parsi and Jew community. What is the hope of interfaith harmony that India represents in these troubled times for the world?
We have to understand that today there is religious diversity in all the countries of the world. There's a large Hindu diaspora. So communication is required. And it's not just a matter of what I would call interfaith, it's also a matter of what I would call interknowledge, sharing our experience of the divine, the inner self, sharing our ability to explore the whole of consciousness, taking us to the universal awareness. So Sri Ram and Ayodhya is the ultimate place for all the religions to come together, but even for all of science, art, music, mysticism, and spirituality of all forms, from the dawn of history to the great future enlightenment of humanity, which we are all waiting for to begin today in these troubled times.
Now, there are many people who are constantly prophesizing a Muslim genocide in our country, telling that the world that there are Muslims in India who are living under fear. We know there is no such thing that is taking place. What do you make of your outside view of a modern secular India?
Well, relative to the issue of Hindus and Muslims, I also have many associates in Pakistan, and I've also had many associates in the UAE. And I would say, of course, Hindus are not treated well in Pakistan at all. And Muslims in India, of course, are a minority, but they have been presidents of India. We find them in the media. They are prominent spokespeople. They have their own temples. They are part of the Indian way of life. And there's been many connections and communications at various levels. But there are different faiths, different religions in the world, and we have to understand different points of view and allow for a diversity of expression. As the Vedas say, truth is one, names and forms are many. So let us look to that deeper unity. And Sri Ram, no one has anything to fear from Sri Ram, from Sita, from Hanuman, even from Dharma. That is the way of universal living. So the Ram Mandir is a new opportunity for peace, communication, and harmony with the entire world and people of all backgrounds, religious, non-religious, whatever their approach is. We are all one humanity. That is the meaning of Ram Raja.
What is your view of Narendra Modi as a global leader?
Today, we are lacking in good leaders today, good global leaders. There is so much conflict over leadership in the countries of Europe, even in the United States. There is a great division in the country. India is a rare country that has a determined, successful leader who is able to work at a national level, but also very prominent at an international level. And I would say Modi has more pictures being close to or even hugging the different political leaders of the world than anyone else. That is also Ram Raja.
There is a major Hindu temple that is soon going to be inaugurated in Abu Dhabi. Are you also hopeful of a new understanding of Hinduism rising across the globe?
Well, first of all, I've been closely involved with BAPS Swaminarayan for over 30 years. I also help them with Akshardham in Delhi. I just visited their magnificent Akshardham North America in New Jersey. And I have been in touch with them on the new Mandir in Abu Dhabi. And I have been invited to visit there for the conference, and I will be probably attending. That is my intention at this point. And we have to understand that there are many different views, many different people. There's a lot of very good communication between India and UAE. Islam is also not just one thing, just as Hindu Dharma is not just one thing. So there's great grounds for communication. And we see a close relationship between Narendra Modi and the leaders of these countries as well. So I think that is a great event to happen shortly after Ram Raja or Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. And I think it is perhaps the first great expression or manifestation coming out of Ayodhya.
There are several of our Hindu temples that are being defaced and attacked all over the world, whether it is in US or Europe or in the subcontinent. Why do you think there are some people who are out there trying to create Hindu phobia?
Well, we have to understand that the Hindu community in the English-speaking countries, United States, Canada, UK, etc., is the most affluent and educated of the immigrant communities. It's contributed most to peace and harmony in the different communities. So I think a certain factor of jealousy has arisen because there are also diverse groups in these countries as well. A misperception has come up. And also now you see the old image was that Hindus were poor, backwards, superstitious. Now it's seeing the image that Hindus have too much money, too much influence. They're out there in the media. India is rising. So some suspicion, fear, I would say, shadow from the colonial era, and to some extent a shadow from leftist, particularly Marxist influences relative from India or the rest of the world. And the unfortunate fact that even though the West is beginning to appreciate India, they still do not understand the great depth and diversity of Indian culture, and it's not being taught properly in the schools or even in the universities. I asked these people to visit Ayodhya and East, or else Akshardham, North America, and the United States, where they have it. The great temples, Hindu temples, are now almost throughout the entire world.
Do you think India can now lead the world in organizing interfaith conferences and promoting global harmony?
India, of course, had an ancient tradition in Asia as the Vishwa Guru, or the guru of the countries on a national level, and also, of course, sharing its great universities and pilgrimage. And we see that influence through Hindu and Buddhist traditions throughout Asia. So India has the vastness and diversity and antiquity of its civilization that certainly is a good foundation for a global model. It's not in the shadow of colonialism or Marxism or mere politics. It has a spiritual vision. In the Vedic view, there is one self in all beings. It's not just a question of us being related. And again, it's not just a matter of interfaith, it is communication with all human beings from all backgrounds. We also have ecological issues that are very important to address. Also, how to handle a new technology without losing our ancient and enduring spirituality. So I think Ayodhya will be a great place for conferences, gatherings, and sharing of knowledge, and also debate. We need to discuss deeply and openly with all points of view represented.
Thank you, David Frawley, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your views on the subject. And let me quickly also introduce Wada Dasturji Khurshid Dastur. He is the high priest of the oldest fire temple in our country, the temple of the Parsis, the Zoroastrian religion is located in Udwada in Gujarat. Thank you so much for joining us on the telecast. My first question is, how do you and your community views Ram temple inauguration in Ayodhya?
It is a great pleasure that the Ram Mandir is getting inaugurated in Ayodhya. It's not only a national event, it is an international event. As it is not just a festival kind of a thing, it is a festival, but you are taking a person literally like a God figure, like a fatherly figure, whether you call him Parshuttam, Maryada Purushottam Ram, or Ram the God, whatever it is. He's coming back to his birthplace. So it makes an international event, and people, and for India, it is really we are proud that such an event is taking place during our time. So we can see to it.
Do you think Ayodhya is going to emerge as a place for tourists from all across the globe to visit regardless of their faith?
Of course, yes. It has to be. The message of Ram, the message of Gita has to be spread across the world, because it shows you and teaches you the way you have to live your life. It will not only be a visitor's gallery like, it will be a temple where you will be able to take the philosophy of life, you will be able to take the guidance from there, and you will be able to lead your life in this world.
Do you think there can now be a concerted effort made to send global religious delegations and allow them to visit Ayodhya to promote interfaith dialogue in the future?
Yes, I'm fortunate enough to be invited for the inauguration of this temple. And I presume and I think that the religion won't take a stand in this matter. Everyone throughout the world, as we visit the Vatican City, as we visit other temples across the globe, we will be able to visit Ayodhya, and people from all the religion. It should not be just narrowed down to the Hindu religion. People from all the religions should go there, pay their respect, and try and learn from there how to live a life.
What is your understanding of Hinduism as one of the world's most ancient religions?
Hinduism is a thought, it's a process to live your life. I can just put it in this phrase. It is just, you follow this, it's not a religion. It's a thought and it's a process. That is what I feel.
Hindus also have a term called Ram Rajya, which has become controversial recently because people mistake it for Hindu imposition. Do you think that there is much to learn from Ramayana about good governance, models and ethics?
See, Ram Rajya means good governance, the serenity. You don't only take care of your people, you take care of all its resources, the nature, the plant, the vegetations, the animals. That is Ram Rajya, where it is not being segregated. This is Ram Rajya is only for Hindu and it is not for Christians and it is not for Muslims and it is not for Parsis. Ram Rajya is, the meaning is very vast. If you have an open mind, if you see through it, Ram Rajya means you are doing everything good in this country, in this place. And you want things to happen to progress. You want good things to happen, basically, in short, if I can say, you want good things to happen for everyone. That is Ram Rajya. It's not only for me or you, it's for the country, it's for the nation, it's for everyone across the globe. And that is what it means, that Ram Rajya. It's not specifically meant only for Hindus.
India has 1 billion Hindus. It also has more than 200 million Muslims. Buddhism and Sikhism and Jainism have their genesis in India. We have a flourishing Parsi and Jewish community living in our country. What is the hope for interfaith harmony that India represents in a troubled world?
To be very honest, if India would not have been there, and if we would not have been given the privilege to come here and settle as a refugee, Parsis would not have been existing today. India has always been a place of brotherhood, kindness. It has its so many religions incorporated in this small land of India. I'm sorry to say India, it is Bharat. And we always recognized from the Persian times that it was Indus and Hindu Valley, and when our forefathers came here, it was known as Hindustan. And we were welcomed over here. I could not imagine a Parsi without India. But obvious, this land has given refugees and privilege to so many other religions. They have literally accommodated us as a child who doesn't have a parents and goes to orphanage. For us, it was the same thing, that we never had our motherland, and India accommodated us like an orphanage, supported us, make us grow, and made us so strong that we were able to give back everything to this country. And we are so proud of it.
Now, there are many people who are constantly prophesying that there is Muslim genocide taking place in our country. They're telling the world that Muslims in India are living under fear. We know that there is no such thing that is happening. What do you make of your view of modern India?
All this news is just to bring our country down internationally. I think because we are making progress by leaps and bounds. There is always a jealousy. There is always some coterie who would like to defame each and every individual also. So our nation is also being included in that. that the Western countries doesn't want the name of Bharat to be spread across the globe. There is no such thing as that the Muslims are being tortured or Muslims are being treated badly, because from 2017 to 2019, I was a member of a minority commission in New Delhi, and we have tried to see across India that all the minorities are safe. And I have traveled across and I have seen that all the minorities, the Jains, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the Sikhs, the Christians, the Parsis, all are safe in this country. Yeah, there may be a little bit here and there misconception or some problem, but if you sit across the table, all your problems can be solved.
How has the Parsi community prospered in our country?
The Parsis are fortunate enough, as I said, to come to India. As I told you earlier, we would not have been there if we would not have settled in India. Because the Parsis went to other places like China, Germany, but we were not able to maintain our religion. We came to India. We were given the permission to build our own fire temple on our own conditions. We are able to practice religion according to our faith. What more do we want? And we have progressed in this country along with the country. And we have always taken the country along with us. And that is why the success of a Parsis can be seen more. Though few in numbers, we have always shined out. And we are proud to say that we have given our best to the country, because this country has given everything to us.
What is your view on Narendra Modi as a global leader?
He is the best Prime Minister that India has ever got after independence. His views, his vision for this country, his philosophy, his ideas, his greatness has brought this country on an international level where we can be proud of. I salute the leader, Mr. Narendra Modi, as our Prime Minister of India. I think without him, it would have been taken a long, long time for India to reach on this stage.
Now, there is a major Hindu temple that is soon going to be inaugurated in Abu Dhabi in UAE. Are you hopeful of a new understanding of Hinduism that is now rising globally?
Yes, Hinduism has to rise. Hindus have to rise. They have to forget about their caste. They have to forget about their indifferences. They have to rise. They will have to take the guidance from this temple. They will have to start thinking on the basis of Gita. They will have to try to think about Ram not only as a god, but as their philosopher and guide. And how he converted himself from Ram to the Maryada Purushottam Ram. Each and every Hindu has to follow these practices. That it was with brotherhood, it was with smile, it was with peace that he conquered the world. And Hindus should do that, and we are proud of it.
India is one of the few countries that has not seen anti-Semitism. There is no place for Islamophobia. There is respect and veneration for all faiths. What hope of tolerance and interfaith understanding does that send out to the world?
That sense that we are the leaders of real peace. We are the real leaders. We have never conquered anybody. We have never tortured anybody. We have not left India to we have not tried to boast our thoughts on anybody. So that is the real peace, and that is the real United Nation, which we think is that the headquarters of the United Nations should be India. Because the Indian philosophy, the philosophy of Ramayana, the Gita itself says that it's always brotherhood, it's always peace, it's always love, compassionate care. In all these things, the other negative thing does not come into it. And that makes our country a great country where so many different types of religion stay together and are bringing India up together.
There are many Hindu temples that are being defaced and attacked all over the world, whether we look at United States of America, Northern America, Europe, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. Why are there some people out there who are trying to create Hindu phobia?
I told you, it is a matter of jealousy, it is a matter of to try and divert the attention, it is a matter to feel that India should not go higher into the international standards. It is just a negative thoughts of each and every person, but we don't have to look into that. We always have to look at the good side of it. We always have to look at a positive side of it. And that is what Ramayana teaches, and that is what our leader follows. Mr. Modi doesn't care about the negative things, he cares about the positive things. And that is the most important thing in life, that if your mind is positive, your thoughts are positive, your deeds are positive, then it's progress, progress, and progress.
And finally, before I let you go, can India lead the world now in organizing interfaith conferences and promoting global harmony?
Yes, India has to start doing more and more interfaith. Unfortunately, there is not much interfaith conferences in our country. Like in other countries, in UK, in Europe, there are lots of interfaith connections and lot of interfaith committees and lot of interfaith groups which promotes the interfaith peace. India should start following that process of having an interfaith body, of starting having an interfaith conferences, start having interfaith in the states, at the state level, and even at the national level.
Thank you so much, Vada Dasturji, Khurshid Dastur, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your very important, insightful views on Ayodhya Ram Mandir celebration that is the cynosure of eyes of the entire globe. Also on the telecast with me is Professor Nathan Katz. He is a distinguished Professor Emeritus from the Florida International University. Thank you, Professor, for joining us on the telecast. And my first response that I seek from you is your view of the Ram Temple inauguration that is taking place in the next 2 days' time.
I am so excited about it. I can't tell you how much I would love to be there. I think that this is a really tidal kind of change in Indian society, where that will give what I think is a proper place to the religious heritage of India.
Do you feel there can now be a concerted effort made to send global religious delegations visiting Ayodhya and promoting interfaith dialogue in the future?
I accept any invitation that I'm offered. Yeah, I think that would be wonderful. I think taking an interfaith group to Ayodhya and learning about Ram and the temple and the story would be very enlightening for everyone. It just so happens I happened to be in India at the time that the Babri Masjid was dismantled, let us say. So I'm quite intimately connected to what is going on in Ayodhya, just because I've been following the history very closely. Let me, if I may, just go on a tangent. You know, my people have a temple in Jerusalem that is been taken over first by a church and then by a masjid, and I have passionate feelings. I would like to see our temple rebuilt someday. So I understand your feelings about Ayodhya. You see, most people make a mistake when they talk about religions. They say there's Western and Eastern, or Lord help us, Abrahamic and Dharmic, however we divide it up. And I don't think that's the best way to divide them up. Certainly, the three Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, share things in common. And that's correct. However, there's another way, and I always told my students this, to understand how different types of religion, and this is old and new. Old religions, such as Hinduism, such as Judaism, and a few others, have a whole different mental framework than the newer religions. Newer religions tend to be missionizing and, to use their word, universalistic. That is, the claims that Christianity or Islam makes are true for all the world, for everyone, under any circumstance. In my tradition, it's not like that. Every religion has its own way, and all we say the same thing you do. The way we put it, all paths lead to the same goal. The righteous of all religions get a share in the world to come, is the way we put heaven or moksha, whatever we call the goal. So in these older religions, place matters. Older religions all take place at a certain time, in a certain circumstances, certain history.
Yes.
And the connection
also, if I could
to
interrupt
the
you
land,
there, and my question to you about
for Hindu,
what is your understanding of Hinduism as one of the world's most ancient religions?
Hinduism is, let's put it this way, if I weren't born Jewish, and I'm sure I'm born Jewish for very, very good reasons that I may not fully understand, none of us do. If I weren't born Jewish, I think I'd want to be, I certainly want to be a dharmika. I would like to follow one of your religions, if that were my choice. I don't think that is our choice. Hinduism, what can I say? It is a culture. It is the theology and, you know, the different kinds of Vedanta and dualism and qualified non-dualism and the theism and the monism and the logical analysis and all these different schools that make up what we call Hinduism are profound. And I've studied, and I force my students to study at great length, sort of the conceptual framework of Hinduism. Also, we have in Hinduism tremendously advanced techniques for actualizing or bringing into being, into one's life, the principles of the religion. We all have those. We too have rich traditions of meditation and so forth. And I suspect, in fact, I'm sure, I don't just suspect, there has been connections through medieval times, if not earlier, between Hindus and Jews, between texts and so forth. And many of our religious ideas have filtered into the other religion. This is my special area that most fascinates me. So Hinduism is, to us Jews, is something in a way familiar, if we understand a little bit about it. It is ancient, certainly, and more important, it's profound, and it is not just those doctrines. It is not just a philosophical text, but you have an entire culture with the magnificent dance, which acts out many of the Puranas and other stories from your text. The way you put your religion into practice through fine arts. is something I think unparalleled in all the world.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely, yes.
of
And
course,
also the
temple
fact that
architecture.
you talk about Hinduism in such splendid way, but there are several others who are constantly prophesizing that there is Muslim genocide that is taking place in our country. They seem to be telling the world that Muslims in our country are living under fear. We know that there is no such thing that takes place in our country. What do you make of and what's your view? You know, you being an outsider, living out of the country, also not part of Hinduism, not a practitioner of Hinduism, and how do you view India in the modern world?
I've been going to India for a long time. It was back in the 1960s that I first went to India, and I've been going back and forth regularly. It's been my work, but it's been my passion as well. And I've seen some disturbing changes, not only in India, but in the world. It seemed to me, my sense was that Indian Muslims resembled their Hindu compatriots very much in that they were much more tolerant and accepting than what one reads about today. One still finds that. When we lived in Kochi, every night one of the leaders of the Jewish committee would host whoever wanted to come to his house for some snacks and some drinks and so forth. And every night at his table, of course, a Jewish house. I remember one of the favorite people who came was the president of the Jain temple, which was next, Jewtown and Jaintown or Gujarat town are next to each other there. A Muslim attorney who went to law school with one of the Jews, so they've been friends for, at that time, 50, 60 years. And of course, Hindus were there. And just every night, you'd have an interreligious celebration. I don't know what else to call it. And people would talk about whatever they would talk about, and it would include religion. I would be asked, what is it about these foreign religions that they seem so insecure that they have to convert everybody to their faith? And I say, that is certainly not our way. That is certainly not your way. And somehow if we can get the passion to convert everyone out of some of the religions, the world would be a lot more peaceful, though I know that's not so likely to happen. But what I observed of Muslim-Hindu relations in India 50 years ago is a different story than what I see today, where there's tension. It's not only India, it's global, and I can only pray about it. I don't know what to do when a religion becomes too aggressive.
I would also be very interested in knowing what your view on Narendra Modi as a global leader is.
I love Modi. I must say, not that many people in America do. But what I like about him is that he is proud. He's a proud Hindu. And I don't think he's imposing things on minority groups in India. I hope not. But he is obviously putting great resources of India to promoting Ayodhya. And I can't wait to once again see Varanasi and what he's done there. I want to see Modi's India. I want to see what it's like now that all of these sacred places have become so upgraded. Though I must say, I was looking at some film taken in Kedarnath recently. Kedarnath is my favorite, absolute favorite place I've ever been to in my life, the most powerful place. But if it's too easy to go there, too many people go and it becomes less. More sometimes is less. At least when I went, they had helicopters to get us up. I was too old to walk up. But too much tourism at holy sites, as opposed to pilgrimage to holy sites, that's different. But tourism to holy sites, too much can be problematic. And I just give Kedarnath as my example of that. I got to see I've never been to Ayodhya in my life. I've got to see Benares. I studied at BHU. What is it like now? I don't know.
Now, there are a number of Hindu temples that have been built across the globe. There is one major Hindu temple that is soon going to be inaugurated in Abu Dhabi also. Are you hopeful of a new understanding and awareness of Hinduism that is now rising globally?
I'm very amazed and very pleased to see, especially in the Gulf regions, the construction of Hindu temples. Not so much because Hindus there can go to temple, which is great, but also because that shows an openness in Muslim societies that we don't find in other Muslim societies. And that's to be profoundly encouraged. And we did this program the other day on anti-Semitism and Hindu Dvish. And what do we do about it? And it's just so important to learn about one another. I taught comparative religion, specializing in India for many years in universities, and I'd always take my students, let's go to see this temple, this gurdwara, whatever it is we're going to visit. Learning about other religions, especially from members of that religion who are presented in a pleasant and intelligent manner, does more to promote harmony than anything else we can do. So I'm very glad I was a professor of religious studies all these years. I continue just to try to make people understand one another.
Do you think that Ayodhya is now going to emerge as a place for tourists from across the world to visit regardless of their faith?
I'm not sure of that. I don't think very many people outside of India, and certainly in my part of the world, are aware of what Ayodhya is, what it means. So I don't know. I know there are wonderful facilities that have been developed, both the trains and the hostels and the accommodations. In time, it may become a tourist destination, but it will take a while before people outside of India come to appreciate its meaning.
In Hinduism, there is a term called Ram Rajya, which has come to become seemingly controversial recently because people mistake it for Hindu imposition. Do you think that there is much to learn about Ramayana and the lessons of good governance and morals and ethics that it teaches?
First of all, let me tell you, my wife and I lived in Kochi for a year. We've written books and we're sort of experts on the Jewish communities in India and Kochi in particular. And the Jews in Kochi grew up in a Hindu society down in Kerala, of course. And since it was not technically part of the British, but was ruled by the local Rajas and Maharajas for right up until the 1940s, till independence, Jews in Kerala grew up in a more or less traditional Hindu context. Saying that, there is no better place for a Jew to grow up, maybe Israel, maybe in one's own, but of all of our diaspora, nowhere have we resonated so richly and really beautifully with the local environment as we have in India. So that's Hindutva. That's Indianness, is at least the Indianness that I know is one that Hinduism doesn't mean Hinduism is the best or the only religion and that other religions are to be suppressed. On the contrary, what I understand of Hindutva, the Hindu-ness, the Indianness that is sweeping India today, is one that embraces and feels itself enhanced by a multiplicity of religions and philosophy in its territory. Having others in your country makes your country fuller, richer, more bountiful. Whereas in almost every other country, you don't really want the others in there. You want to establish your religion as the standard for everyone. Hindutva, I do not think meant or has ever meant that. That's certainly, reading Savakara and some of the founders of the Hindutva movement. What they have in mind is Hinduism, Hindutva as a culture is unique among the world's civilizations in welcoming diversity and pluralism. And I tell you, that is our lived experience in India.
Thank you, Professor Nathan Katz, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your views. And let me at this point introduce Acharya Yeshi Funsok, who's the Deputy Speaker of the Tibetan Parliament in Exile. Thank you so much, Acharya, for joining us on the telecast. And of course, your first sentiments, what kind of sentiments, reactions, view that you have of the temple inauguration that takes place in Ayodhya?
Ram Janam Bhumi's inauguration is a very important and it's a very auspicious, not only for the Bharat but entire the global. This is a historic inauguration, and we really feel proud to be able to become a highlight and to build the temples of the Shri Ram, which is the waiting many years, decades. The peoples are willing to see the temples of the Shri Ram. So therefore, I really appreciate and welcome the Ram Janam Bhumi's temple's inauguration.
Do you think Ayodhya will emerge as a place for tourists from all over the world to visit regardless of their faith?
Ram Janam Bhumi, Ayodhya itself is not a new thing. Even in my students' life, when I was studying in Saranath at Sampurna Sanskrit University, in the 80s or 70s, we used to go there to get a blessing and not as a tourist, on the basis of as the religious people, as a religious person, we used to go there to get blessing. And now the really historic the temple is near about to complete to build, and on the 22nd of the 1st January 2024, through the live, everybody can see the pictures of the Shri Ram Janam Bhumi's temple, which visualize in front of the global. So everyone is waiting.
Absolutely. Also, a very natural question to ask you would you also consider leading a Buddhist delegation to visit Ayodhya and promoting interfaith communication in the future?
I'm going before the 22nd of the January, because the media groups of the India has invited me and numerous religious leaders has invited. All the religious, the representative will be there on the 11th, and then 12 we have two panel discussions, and on 13 I'm coming back to Delhi. So therefore, not only the Buddhists, not only the Hindus, but the Sikh, Jain, Parsi, Islamic, and then the Christian, and almost in India there is around 10 religious, the various religious such the representatives from each religion, 2 representatives, they invite us. So we will be there. I'm also going there, and for 3 days we are going to spend there. So therefore, before the inauguration, we have a good opportunity to go there and to see the whole the structures of the Ram Janam Bhumi's temple and Ayodhya, and then we have also opportunity to express our view and the thoughts and ideas about the Ayodhya and the Ram Janam Bhumi, particularly the temple which is already built.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, the temple.
Understanding from you, what is your understanding of Hinduism as one of the world's most ancient religions?
Actually, all the religion have their own background, and each and every religion have a founder. So as similar, the Hindu, the Dhamma, the founder have as itself, and then each and every religion have their god and goddess. So therefore the Ram is the one which is the highest, the Dhamma, the like a god, and so I really respect, and His Holiness Dalai Lama always mentioned to entire the global to respect the other religion and to follow your own religion. So as I am a Buddhist practitioner, as a disciple of the Tathagat Buddha, I follow the Tathagat Buddha's teaching, but even we used to respect and to honor the other religion, and also try to get many lessons, many thoughts and ideas, philosophies. Also there is a very much similarities. All the religion used to teach the non-violence and peace, compassion and harmony and kindness. So every religion teach like very much similar thoughts and idea. So
if I could interrupt you over there, and I just wanted to ask you one question about how the world perceives India and particularly Hinduism, because in Hinduism there is a term called Ram Rajya. Unfortunately, it has become controversial recently because people seem to mistake it for Hindu imposition. Do you think that there is much to learn from Ramayana about good governance, models and ethics?
Actually, I'm always appeal to the universal, do not go through the politics and do not play the Dhamma on the basis of the politics. The Dhamma should be keep on to remain. It's a value of its Dhamma. So do not become make any controversial. Important thing is faith and to respect and to learn. That is the most important.
Absolutely. Now, talking about Hindus in our country, you know, Hindus, there are 1 billion Hindus. There are also 200 million Muslims who live in our country. Buddhism was born here, and there are several other religions that are given space to flourish and thrive. What is the hope for interfaith harmony that India represents in the troubled times that the world sees?
As I already mentioned at the early question, entire religion just to give the religious harmony. His Holiness always to appeal the entire religious leader. Each and every have a responsibilities. First, to promote the humanity, the values of the humanity. Second, to respect the entire religion. Third, the religious leaders try to bring to harmony in the universal, and that is the most important. So whether the believer of any religion, either Buddhist or the Hindu or Sikh or Isai or Islamic or Judaism or Parsi or whatever the Jainism, but everybody should try to bring as a religious practitioner or the non-religious practitioner also feels needs a happiness and then the healthy life. So therefore, whether the believer or non-believer, everybody needs.
Correct. Everybody needs to carry forward that sentiment of harmony, of peace, of togetherness and tolerance. But also, talking about that, there are many people who constantly are prophesizing that there is Muslim genocide that is taking place in India, that the Muslims in our country are living under fear, and all of it is not true at all. What do you make of the outside? What do you make of the view of your community, of Buddhists living in our country, of modern India?
Actually, I'm not going to give any comments on these controversial, the issues and controversial questions. They actually, you have to try to bring together, and as whatever the founder of each and every religious founder has taught, on that basis have to do the practice. Do not become a violence, and do not become angers. Go through as a humanitarian, as a harmony and peace. So this is I think sometimes it like happening, but we have to go through the peace and non-violence. That is, I think, I always appeal the universal. It do not go make any controversial by anybody.
Right. Absolutely. Also, what do you think of Narendra Modi and his position in the world as a global leader?
As a citizen of this universal, though I am a Tibetan, I am living in India in exile, but I am a citizen of this universal, and I born in India, and I'm studied in India, and they're doing our services for the Tibet movement, and then plus I'm also doing according to His Holiness Dalai Lamaji's the vision. So on the we respect the Narendra Modi ji, and I've seen that Narendra Modi ji is contributing his the real energies for the nation, for the country, and for the universal. So therefore, each and every, there may be some differences, but whatever the being universal citizens of this global, and being here as living in India, and I really appreciate whatever the step is taking the government of India, and that is my view.
Now, there are several Hindu temples that have been built across the globe, and they are massive, they are majestic. One such Hindu temple is also going to be inaugurated in Abu Dhabi. Now, are you hopeful of a new understanding of Hinduism rising across the globe?
There is many Hindu temples in the different countries and different nations, in the different region and different continent. So therefore, as many as the Hindu practitioners, Hindu gurus, we are able to outreach in the different countries, that will also very much helpful for the protections of the Hinduism. Like in Buddhist, we have many Buddhist centers in the global level, more than 10,000 Buddhist centers in Europe and America and coastal Asia, and in Africa, even a different nation, Asia. So therefore, that is very important for the future of the nation, for the future of the country, for the future of the generations. So therefore, for the protections of the valuable religion, valuable thoughts, valuable ideologies. So therefore, as many as followers, new followers will come, and then they will try to bring the centers, temples. It is good. It is good for the nation. It is good for the citizen. It is good for the harmony. It is good for the peace. It is good for the, I think, for this survival of the its cultural, and that is very important.
Absolutely. But at the same time that we are building huge, massive temples across the globe, there are also many Hindu temples that are being defaced and attacked across the globe, whether we see US or Europe or the Indian subcontinent. Why do you think there are some people who are trying to create Hindu phobia?
Actually, it is not right, because there's every nations, every countries, the citizens is there. If they are willingly to become any religion, adopt and follow any religion, they need some worship places. So therefore, I think even in the many other religious centers are also in India, and then the other countries and other nations. So this is similar. This is not new things.
And can India, as you feel, can lead the world in organizing interfaith conferences, promoting global harmony and peace?
It's very important because for the last 3 years, I was really participated in many inter-religious conferences. Many of our Indian, the Christian friends, the Islamic friends, Hindu friends, the Jain friends, they organize numbers of numerous interfaith and inter-religious conference. And then the Indian Minority Commission, we have the Minority Commission, we have Indian Minority Commission. And then Buddhist, His Holiness Dalai Lama has asked many of all these religious leaders try to organize as many as the inter-religious faith. His Holiness has first time organized the inter-religious faith in many times in Delhi and other places. After that, the other religious people also follow His Holiness advice. So therefore, they just these are the very important, and to give the not only the meetings, but also give a fruitful the results it will come. Then that will be the very
Absolutely.
Useful for to organize the inter-religious conference, seminars,
yes,
and to exchange the views and ideas, and to visit the other religious holy places also. Not just their own religious holy place is also important for the individuals, for that followers, but they must also try to go Hindu peoples. They must go to the holy places of the Christianity, Islam, and then the Buddhist, and then Jain, and then Parsi. Even the other religious people also must to visit the other religious holy places. It will become more come and more close. Just only the meeting is not. It makes some fruitful. Then to exchange the views and ideas and to bring it to good, it will become a good idea, and good results will come up.
Thank you, Acharya Yeshi Funsok, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your views on our television news channel, and through our medium, the kind of message that comes across from all the religious leaders, all the religious heads of the world that have joined us right now. I once again thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and here's a message through this special global faith leaders who joined me in the last hour and a half to speak about their religions, to speak about Hinduism, to speak about how inter-religious dialogue is the key to peace and harmony and success of the world that comes together.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.